When we talk about corporate strategy, few names are as closely associated with growth as Igor Ansoff. Known as the father of strategic management, Ansoff was a Russian-American mathematician and business thinker who, in the 1950s and 1960s, developed some of the most enduring ideas about how firms grow and diversify. His work was not rooted in abstract theory alone, but in the practical challenges faced by companies in the post-war era, when industrial giants were expanding rapidly, exploring new markets, and confronting levels of competition that required systematic thinking about direction and scope. While Alfred Chandler taught us that structure follows strategy, and Michael Porter stressed the importance of competitive positioning, Ansoff gave us a way to think clearly about the different directions in which a company might pursue growth. His most famous contribution, the Ansoff Matrix, remains a staple of strategy teaching to this day, used by managers, students, and consultants around the world as a framework for discussing corporate growth. Ansoff began from a simple but profound question: how can firms grow? He observed that firms did not only compete within existing markets with existing products. They also sought new customers, created new offerings, and entered new industries. Each of these paths to growth carried different levels of risk and required different kinds of capabilities. To capture this logic, he developed a simple 2x2 matrix. On one axis is products, existing or new. On the other axis is markets, existing or new. Crossing these two dimensions, Ansoff identified four strategic choices. The first is market penetration. This means selling more of existing products in existing markets. It is the least risky strategy because the firm is dealing with what it already knows. The same products, the same customers, the same environment. Growth here comes from increasing market share, attracting customers away from competitors, or persuading existing customers to use more. Coca-Cola, for example, has relied heavily on market penetration. For decades, its flagship product has been essentially the same, but through massive advertising campaigns, branding, and global distribution, it has managed to increase consumption in existing markets. Similarly, companies in subscription services often focus on penetration by driving higher engagement from existing users, such as Netflix encouraging subscribers to watch more hours, or Spotify promoting playlists that keep listeners on the platform. The second is market development. Here, the firm takes existing products into new markets. This can mean geographic expansion into new regions, or targeting new segments within an existing region. A classic case is Starbucks expanding internationally, taking its established coffeehouse model from the United States to Europe, Asia, and beyond. The product is largely the same, but the market is new. Market development often involves challenges of cultural adaptation, regulation, and distribution, but it allows firms to leverage what they already know while reaching new customers. Another example is Tesla moving from primarily North American customers into European and Chinese markets, adjusting only slightly while keeping the core product intact. The third is product development. In this case, firms create new products for existing markets. They leverage their knowledge of customers, but expand their offerings. Apple is a textbook example. Having built a loyal customer base with the iPod and later the iPhone, Apple has continually introduced new products like the iPad, Apple Watch, and AirPods. The customers were already in place, the brand loyalty was strong, but growth came from developing new products to satisfy evolving needs. Similarly, car companies develop new models or variants for their established markets, sometimes adding hybrid or electric vehicles to meet shifting demands. The fourth is diversification. This is the most radical strategy. New products in new markets. It is also the most risky, because the firm is entering territory it does not yet know, with customers it has not served before, and with products it has not produced before. But diversification also offers the possibility of high rewards. Virgin Group is often cited here, as it has moved from airlines to music, to financial services, to telecommunications. Some moves succeeded, others did not. But diversification defined the group's adventurous approach. Google's creation of Alphabet as a holding company partly reflected diversification, allowing it to pursue ventures from self-driving cars to life sciences, well beyond its core in search and advertising. Diversification can be related, where the new products and markets are connected to existing capabilities, or unrelated, where the move takes the firm into entirely different territory. The Ansoff matrix, then, provides a simple but powerful way to discuss strategic choices. It reminds managers that growth is not a single path, but four possible directions, each with its own risks and requirements. Market penetration is safe but limited. Market development and product development carry more risk, but also more potential. Diversification is the boldest, but the most uncertain. What makes Ansoff's contribution particularly valuable is not only the framework itself, but also the discipline it brings. In practice, firms often pursue growth opportunistically, chasing trends without reflecting on the risks involved. The matrix forces clarity. Are we staying with what we know, or are we venturing into the unknown? If we are venturing, how far are we going? The horizontal and vertical axes make the discussion concrete, and managers can weigh their appetite for risk against their desire for growth. Examples from history illustrate both the successes and failures of Ansoffian choices. Consider Lego. In the early 2000s, Lego pursued diversification aggressively, moving into video games, clothing, theme parks, and even TV production. Many of these ventures were unrelated to its core capabilities and market, and they strained the company's resources. By 2004, Lego was in deep financial trouble. The company eventually retrenched, returning to its core market and focusing on product development within toys, with initiatives like Lego Mindstorms and partnerships with Star Wars. Here, we see the risk of diversification when it is not well aligned with capabilities. On the other hand, look at Disney. Starting with animated films, Disney moved into theme parks, television, merchandise, and eventually into streaming with Disney+. Each move was a step along the Ansoff pathways, from product development to market development to diversification, but always anchored in storytelling and family entertainment. Because Disney's moves were strategically coherent, its diversification has been largely successful, creating a synergistic empire. The matrix is not without its critics. Some argue that it oversimplifies. Real strategies are rarely as clean as a 2x2 grid suggests. Market and product boundaries blur. New technologies redefine categories. Digital platforms, for example, can simultaneously represent new products and new markets, making it hard to place them neatly in the matrix. Moreover, critics argue that the framework does not say how to succeed in each quadrant, it only identifies the directions. For that, firms must rely on other tools and deeper analysis. Nonetheless, the Ansoff matrix has endured because of its clarity and usefulness as a starting point. In classrooms and boardrooms, it provides a common language to discuss growth. And even if it is simplistic, it forces critical questions. What do we know? What do we not know? And how much risk are we willing to take? In today's digital age, Ansoff's insights are more relevant than ever. Consider how digital transformation opens up each quadrant. Market penetration can be driven by data analytics, personalized marketing, and digital platforms that deepen customer engagement. Market development can occur through e-commerce that allows instant global reach. Product development is accelerated by digital technologies that enable rapid prototyping, software updates, and customer co-creation. Diversification is exemplified by tech giants entering entirely new industries. Amazon moving from e-commerce into cloud computing and healthcare, or Apple moving from hardware into financial services. Each of these moves can be mapped onto the Ansoff matrix, showing how digital transformation both enables and complicates traditional growth paths. Ethically, too, the framework invites reflection. If diversification leads a technology company into healthcare, what responsibilities does it bear in handling sensitive patient data? If product development relies on addictive digital features, what is the ethical obligation towards users? If market development targets vulnerable populations, how should fairness be ensured? Ansoff himself did not dwell on ethics, but in our age it is impossible to separate growth strategies from their social consequences. Growth is not neutral. It affects employees, customers, communities, and the environment. Strategy, therefore, must be evaluated not only in terms of risk and return, but also in terms of responsibility. As with Porter, Mintzberg, and Chandler, Ansoff's ideas remain vital precisely because they are not bound to a single era. They provide a lens, a way of thinking that can be adapted to new contexts. For students of strategy, the lesson is to use the Ansoff matrix as a tool for a structured reflection, not as a mechanical recipe. It is a way to ask, are we deepening our hold on what we know, or are we venturing into the unknown? And if we venture, do we have the capabilities and values to support that journey? In conclusion, Igor Ansoff's contribution was to systematize the logic of growth. He showed that firms have choices to penetrate, to develop markets, to develop products, or to diversify, and that each choice carries implications for risk, capability, and coherence. His framework has guided generations of managers in thinking about growth strategically rather than haphazardly. And while the world has changed since the mid-20th century, the fundamental challenge remains. Growth is necessary, but how it is pursued makes all the difference. The Ansoff matrix reminds us that strategy is about choices, and choices must be made deliberately, with both ambition and awareness of their consequences. Growth is not just about more. It is about direction, discipline, and responsibility. That is why Ansoff's work still matters today.